Hello, welcome to theCUBE here in our Palo Alto studios. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE, here for a CUBE conversation, news update. Marco Palladino, co-founder and CTO of Kong, CUBE alumni, always bringing great news every time Kong has something good going on, obviously leading API gateway company as well as other tech. APIs connect today's internet and the world, soon to be 100% AI, but a lot of stuff going on under the covers. Marco, great to see you.
Great to see you again.
Yeah, you guys are on a tear. Again, continue, congratulations on your success. You know, everyone knows I love Kong from the old days since 2009 when you guys been doing APIs longer than anyone I know. So
that's right, before it was called Kong.
Before it was called Kong. You guys have done the work, but like there's a real shift going on top of APIs. You're seeing data. Our last conversation, we were talking about how AI is going to be a lot going through the APIs. AI and agentics are now the hype right now, and there's a real work. Agents are real. They will happen as the infrastructure continues to get performant. They're going to come on super fast. So again, you got some big news. Let's just jump in. What's the big news?
Yeah, so the big news is that we are making a major announcement of our AI gateway technology, which is infrastructure for running AI at scale with every enterprise organization. It's actually one of our most successful products right now. We're seeing lots of interest and adoption of our AI governance, AI infrastructure product. And with this new release, we're really trying to make it easier for organizations to implement certain techniques, like for example, RAG in a fully automated way. As we know, everybody's using AI, everybody's using different models, the best model for the job. You know, some of them are by one provider, some others could be from another provider, and everybody wants to make sure that whatever AI does is accurate. And as we know, AI has this problem. It really likes to lie in a very confident way. So it will confidently lie, and we call that an hallucination. Yeah. So to reduce the rate of hallucinations, what we can do? Well, we can fine-tune the models so they become smarter with our own data, but we can also implement RAG, which is a technique that essentially allows us to query a vector database to add more relevant information to the prompts that we're sending to AI. Now, all of these sounds very complicated, and it is because it is complicated. Developers have to go and build everything from scratch. They have to go and pre-process the data, store it in a vector database, then they have to remember to go and build RAG every time they send a prompt. You know, there's lots of manual steps that have to take place, and that's fine. You know, we're in the early stages of this journey in AI. Everybody's doing this for the first time, and so, but as we get more mature, well, we can automate some of these cross-cutting requirements. And so with this new version of 3.10 of AI Gateway, we're going to be fully automating RAG. So nobody needs to go and build RAG anymore. It is going to be enabled by default across every prompt that's been sent through the AI Gateway. And this is something that fundamentally will make our applications more reliable, more accurate, reduce the rate of hallucinations, and at the same time, improve the developer productivity. So this is one of the many things we're shipping.
So that's the big feature. There's also another feature. You mentioned governance. The personal information is another key feature of 3.10. Explain what that's all about.
Well, so today, obviously, we're building interesting AI use cases. Usually, it's three different use cases. It is either the chatbots, the co-pilot use cases, or the agents. And by the way, the agents, we're seeing lots of activities there because it's a new frontier that every enterprise organization is exploring. When you hear in the news that an organization is replacing real humans with AI, what it means is that they are identifying flows and procedures in the business that today are not automated, and they're using AI to bring some intelligence to those flows. And that's what agents really are. Agents are essentially virtual employees that we can build and deploy. Well, whatever the use case is, there's going to be the risk of leaking customer data inside of the models. And we all know that that's also a problem because, again, AI cannot keep a secret. Yeah. You send some customer data, some social security number, bank information, whatever that is, PII data, and then that information can potentially be extracted from another application using techniques like prompt injection or some form of hacking on the models themselves. And so what does this new version do? It allows us to apply a blanket policy to remove all PII data that's being sent to a model across every team and every application, every agent that's using AI. And at the same time, we will reinsert that PII information on the way back so that the end user experience is not being compromised. The end user doesn't know that any PII has been sanitized, yet at the same time, the model doesn't see it. And we can eliminate all PII risk for governance, for compliance, for regulatory compliance across the organization.
That's a lot in this gateway release. I want to just unpack, if you don't mind, a little bit. So you talked about RAG hallucinations. I get the RAG piece and how you can reduce hallucinations, but are you talking about AI for Kong or Kong for AI? Is it me, the customer's RAG that you're pipelining, or is it data from Kong systems? It's the classic question of, are you using AI to help Kong be better at RAG for your efficiency, or is it the customer's RAG itself?
It's the customers.
Okay,
it's the customers.
So I'm doing a RAG database, got a vector database.
You got a vector database with all the data you would like to add on top, make available to the developers to use in order to be able to enhance their prompts. We don't ask the developers to go and build those RAG pipelines anymore. The gateway at runtime will receive the prompts. The gateway will query the vector database, add the relevant data, and then send it to the model. In other words, RAG is enabled by default. And that matters because the hallucinations are perhaps the biggest drawback of using AI. We want to reduce hallucinations as much as we can to improve the response quality of our applications. And with RAG enabled by default, we're going to achieve just that.
So you're separating the vector database from the retrieval process and matching it
The
through.
retrieval process is fully automated by the gateway itself, so developers don't have to go and build it anymore.
So the gateway is the retrieval engine.
That's
the vector database is just another data source.
That's exactly right.
Okay, and the benefit to the customer is that you give the developers confidence that you're managing hallucinations. Through how?
There is a couple of benefits here. So developers don't have to build RAG anymore because the gateway will add that information on every prompt. And at the same time, that vector database that needed to be used by all the agents that developers are building, well, we can actually lock that down. So we can improve the security posture of the vector database so that only the gateway communicates with it. So we're improving the security while improving the quality of the responses, while improving the developer efficiency. It's a no-brainer.
So you're basically putting intelligence into the gateway.
That's right, that's right. And this is the last of many features in this direction. As you know, the gateway provides more than 50 plus capabilities, and many of them are semantic. What does that mean? It means that the gateway understands the intent and the meaning of the prompts that we're sending through it. So what can we do with it? Well, a few things. Semantic guardrailing, semantic caching to accelerate and reduce cost, semantic routing to route the prompts to the best models that are fit for the job without the developer knowing in advance what the model is.
So
now RAG, injection automated, that's just one of the latest ones that we're introducing.
So does that help you with vulnerabilities as well, because you're also at the point of the gateway?
That's exactly right. So we help with the entire AI governance lifecycle. That includes observability, security, privacy, PII sanitization, one of them. It improves the infrastructure readiness of being able to support an army of agents that organizations are building and deploying, but being able to do that in a governed way so that it's not the Wild West.
I just interviewed yesterday at a conference Swami from AWS, who has the new job of running the agent division at AWS. He said there'll be millions of agents.
That's exactly right.
And so you're basically building the path for them to go through the door of Kong.
We're building the layer, the infrastructural layer, that allows the organization to apply governance, tiers of access, security, observability, caching, and so on and so forth. RAG is another capability, PII sanitization, and being able to do it as a service, a core service that they're making available to the teams that are building these AI agents. Because you see, one of the problems is we still need these things. Now, the question is, who's building it? Are the developers, are we asking our developers to go and build all of these capabilities whenever they're building an agent? Or are we telling them to use infrastructure that gives them all of these out of the box?
I mean, you're not a point solution for RAG, but RAG is a nice feater for the overall Kong set, and the developers don't do anything except run the database.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay, I think I got this. I'm a little bit slow on the uptake here today, but let me ask you, I'll put the devil's advocate out there. So I might say, hey, Marco, what about speed, all that overhead involved, and RAG and all the querying? I mean, what's the performance going to be like?
Well, the performance is actually quite fast because everything we've done on AI runs on our very performant Kong Gateway core, which today processes trillions of requests already for financial institutions, healthcare, mission critical type of use cases. So that same core, battle tested, production ready, that we've been running for many years across more than 800 enterprise customers, 800 across the world. That core we leverage the same core to build the AI gateway. So the AI gateway does everything as fast and as performant and as, with as scalable as everything else that Kong provides. So when we look at the overall picture, the gateway capabilities that we provide, which by the way can still be used on the AI gateway, then the AI features that we provide, all the semantic capabilities, the PII, the RAGing, and so on. When we support the universal API to consume multiple LLMs without having to change your code base, then we include our Connect platform on top of that to compartmentalize how developers are managing their control planes, how they're deploying their applications. When we look at the full picture, well, we're looking at perhaps the most comprehensive platform for managing both APIs and AI in any organization in the world. And soon, we're going to be expanding that above and beyond just APIs and AI.
Yeah, it's a big smile there. I want to see if I can get any data out of you. But I want to come back to the development because I think this is a productivity angle. You guys have always been about productivity. This is one, checks the box. But I want to get into the end user. What's the outcome to the person who gets the product? What's that enable? Can you take us through a use case of where the governance is pretty straightforward, but I'm talking about the RAG piece. What's the end user experience for them? What's the use case there?
So the organizations that we're working with, they got very excited with the chatbots at first, and then the co-pilots use cases. And so they were running all these AI traffic, for these type of, use cases.
Yeah, into the model, into the
models.
The databases and pulling them out.
But now, I think we're entering a new era of AI, the era of custom agents. So the organizations are now looking at every business process that they are performing today in a either automated way using traditional integration or with humans involved. And they're thinking, can we fully automate this with AI? Can we bring intelligence to these processes in such a way that there is no more human intervention and it's fully autonomous and it's fully automated? And these are the custom agents that they're building. One of our customers, for example, is a top Fortune 500 pharmaceutical organization. They're running our AI gateway in production. They were able to reduce by 50% the time it takes to document a new drug when it enters the market, to document the clinical trials when a new drug is preparing to enter the market. They're leveraging now AI to reduce by 50% the time it takes to do that. I mean, this is a real tangible business outcome. Their entire business now in that specific area got accelerated by 50%.
Well, I got you here because I love the RAG built into the gateway because that just one saves developer time for building one, as you pointed out, but also the trend towards neural networks is vector embeds. Vector embeds is the database format for the retrievals we're seeing. All the RAG augmentation retrieval is in vectors. So that population is going to grow. Have you seen any growth there in terms of, can you scope the growth? I mean, there's definitely growth. RAG's hot right now. You're seeing all kinds of new startups come out, building search on vector embeds. Everyone has it.
Look, it's very exciting. I mean, the AI gateway itself is actually leveraging a vector database to perform some of the capabilities that we provide, like the semantic security or the semantic caching or the semantic routing. We need to use a vector database to be able to store, the embeddings that we generate inside of a, that can reuse. Now, I believe that obviously vector databases are a critical primitive in this new AI world, the same way the models are a critical primitive in this new AI world. So every organization that's thinking about AI, they're probably thinking about three things. They're thinking about what models are they going to use, what vector database technologies they're going to use to store their data in there, and then they're thinking, what is the best use cases that we can fully automate with AI? And many organizations today have these internal projects where they're looking at all the business processes, and they're really trying to identify opportunities for AI to accelerate some of those processes. Now, the moment they're going in production, of course, they need to have the governance, the observability, the security, and we as an infrastructure company, that's where we come in. But quite frankly, they are looking at ways to transform the business, reimagining the business, now powered with AI. And I think it's very exciting. Yeah,
and I think as you look at the agents, you're going to have a lot more intelligence needed, so good to get that at the gateway. But also, you mentioned models. Models are going to talk to each other through gateways. So is there something on the horizon where you're going to have model synthesis, reasoning in the gateway?
Well, so there is something that we're working on right now. One of the most important techniques that every agent needs to be able to implement is what's called function calling. So basically, obviously, the models do not have access to all the data in the organization and don't have access to specific services that are belonging to the organization. So how does the model itself interact with the real world? Through functions. So we are building an internal function catalog where the customer can go on the AI gateway, determine a list of functions that the gateway will intercept, and we can automatically integrate with APIs without the developers on the client side having to build that inside of the agents themselves.
It's very generative.
Look, the ability of an agent to be smart and useful is driven by the ability of that agent to consume APIs that allow the agent to either access data or change that data, right? So the API category, by the way, is growing as a result of agents become a reality, because we need to have an API catalog so that we know what the agent can do to begin with.
It's like it's a control checkpoint.
That's right. APIs are the arms and legs of an agent. Without these APIs, yes, the agents can think, but it can't interact with the real world with the arms and the legs.
It gets context. What's my orders? Check in for your, what do I do here? Functions play a role there. Now they can get reset.
That's right.
It's kind of like that scene in The Matrix when you plug in, I learned how to play karate. You can get the instructions.
That's right. That's right. Actually, this is a very interesting topic. APIs, for many organizations, were a technical concern. So they were giving lots of freedom to the teams to actually manage and create the APIs. But now they become more strategic, because those APIs eventually have to be cataloged into a source of truth, a system of record that we can then leverage to enable the organization to get advantage of agents for AI in this case. If we do not have that catalog, if we do not have that system of record, how can we build smart agents that leverage the IP of the organization to do something useful inside of the organization? We can. So the API catalog becomes a prerequisite for the company to think about building agents to improve their flows. And once they build agents, they also need governance in production to manage what the agents are doing. And so this whole journey of AI adoption, we're trying to help with our infrastructure.
Yeah, and you guys have been there from the early days. And remember, APIs were a very modest goal. Just connect systems together and be very functional, simple. But as they become critical infrastructure, it's an opportunity. You guys have been riding that. This is now at a point where it's critical infrastructure. I mean, you're adding features in that look like a very intelligent device that has major value.
Before AI, 80% of the world's internet traffic was APIs. You can imagine that now with the sprawl of AI, and it's all API driven, the more AI, the more API. Even consuming the models, it is an API call at the end of the day. So APIs are driving the modern digital world and the AI world. I mean, APIs are going to grow above and beyond the 80% that we knew about. It's going to be almost close to 100%. The internet as we know it, is going to be effectively a chain of API calls that's going through systems, clients, agents, AI, all together combined to deliver an outcome.
There'll definitely be AI hubs, because everything can go through API. Might as well do it.
But Kong does it, as a matter of fact. In Kong, you can expose your models, and you can create a catalog of models that the developers can now access and consume, in addition to the catalog of APIs. So it becomes this unified control plane for managing all the API and AI connectivity across the organization. It's very, very exciting. But what makes me more excited about this all, it is the level of partnership that we're seeing with our customers. Because you see, at the end of the day, this is new for us, it's new for the industry, it's new for the customers as well. And so 50% of our roadmap, it is things that we want to build because we believe that that's what the industry needs. But 50% of our roadmap, it is partnering with the customers that are working with us as an extension to their team to tell us all the requirements, their use cases, their outcomes, and we'll literally go and whiteboard with them the features and the capabilities that we should go and build in the roadmap to unblock them. So this is a product, but it's also a partnership motion with the customers that are adopting.
You're getting the requirements, this critical infrastructure, you're double down on. It's not like it's, I mean, some infrastructure needs to be modernized because it's either brittle or manual hooks, but now you have always had good APIs, but now they're getting better. You double down on those APIs. So clearly a great growth and great headroom. I can see why you're excited. So I have to ask, beyond AI, what else you got going on outside of this news? What's coming next? You mentioned roadmap. working with customers. What are some of the cooler things you got going on as APIs become that checkpoint, that key part of the networks, this critical infrastructure? What's next?
We are just about to announce a new event gateway that, in addition to our API gateway, our service mesh offering, our AI gateway offering, our Insomnia, API productivity offering, the event gateway is now also going to be adding events as a first-class citizen in the connectivity platform that every customer of ours is deploying. So we're going to be making those events accessible the same way we make APIs accessible. We can discover them, we can consume them, we can govern the access to events that go to topics that perhaps are managed by technologies like Apache Kafka, right? And so we're going to be making that a very important part of our platform. Now, when it comes to building applications, we know there is not one tool that rules them all. It's not just AI or just APIs. It is the combination of the right tool for the right job. And so the combination of APIs, microservices, AI, and now events coming soon, that is going to give a very comprehensive platform to go build modern applications.
I mean, API is also an integration point as well. What's the importance of events? What's the motivation?
Well, events are solving the asynchronous integration challenge. With traditional microservices, we have a service-to-service communication where a client makes a server client. A client makes a request, the server, which happens to be another microservice, returns a response. Now, sometimes we do not want this behavior. Sometimes we want to instead push our operation into an event stream that can be processed asynchronously, especially when we have large scale of data that we want to analyze, process, or aggregate. So events are a great use case for these type of streaming applications that we're building, real-time applications, a large amount of traffic, and sometimes asynchronous connectivity through events is better than synchronous connectivity with APIs. Sometimes it's actually even safer because with a microservice synchronous connection, if that connection goes down, perhaps we lost a state change in the database. But in an event, we can store that event and process it when the applications go back up and running again. So we can build more resilient applications with events. Now, is it going to be only events? No, it's going to be a connection of all of these different technologies.
Yeah. So it's data, more data for you, more context.
That's right. I mean, where you see events, and this is, by the way, like I said, this is something that's been driven by our customers. Our customers keep telling us, we have APIs and we have a solution for that. We have service meshes, we have a solution for that. And well, we're using AI. Here is a solution for that. And all of a sudden, they're telling us, okay, but what about all the events that we're sending across the organization? So if I can manage my APIs, my microservices, and my AI models inside of the platform, why can't I manage events the same way? And so that's why we decided to go and build events.
Kong is getting bigger and smarter every day.
Bigger,
I don't mean bigger as in bloated, but in terms of capabilities.
Well, you see, there is a market shift that we're seeing today. For many years, organizations were fragmenting how APIs were being created, consumed, and distributed. But over time, the ability of an organization to move fast, innovate fast, and build new applications, it's ponderated on the ability to know what APIs they have, being able to assemble them together to create new initiatives, new products. Without having a central repository for APIs, without having that centralized platform for managing all of these technologies, the organization is operating in a siloed way. So the customers that are partnering with us are the ones that understand the strategic importance of owning your connectivity layer because it is going to allow us to execute faster. Oh, let me put it in a different way, different category. When an organization is adopting an HR system, they don't use 50 different systems. They typically standardize on a few, on one to manage the entire organization. Today, APIs, for many organizations out there, it is as if every team was running with their own HR system. It makes no sense. It creates silos, fragmentations, inefficiencies. And so up until now, APIs were like that. With our Connect platform, we're bringing them under one umbrella that we can deploy anywhere. Kubernetes in the cloud, virtual machines, events, APIs. We can really provide that comprehensive solution. And this is unlocking so much value and so much potential with a customer base that's adopted.
Yeah, I mean, developer productivity, that's North Star for you guys. The governance, huge. Marco, congratulations on 3.10 news on the gateway. Appreciate you coming in and sharing with theCUBE.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right. Kong, continuing to add more capabilities and release it. As AI gets smarter, so does the enterprise. APIs are critical infrastructure, certainly will be critical for the millions of agents. Of course, governance AI doesn't happen without governance and without APIs, and Kong's got it. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE. Thanks for watching.